So today I want to talk about risk management in a very simple way that you will understand. The risk management, the purpose of managing risk is to make sure that if there is any distraction or any potential harm for you to reach your objective or your goals. For example, if I want to move from point A to point B, what are things that are likely to stop me or to disturb my journey traveling from point A to point B? So risk management is about anticipating. It's not something that has already happened. It's something that might happen. So when you think about risk management, think about you taking an insurance, a car insurance, or a house insurance, or a life cover insurance. So those are the tools that you use to manage risk. Let me give you an example. When you are traveling from Johannesburg to Limpopo, where I come from, before you travel with your car, firstly, you will make sure that you have a spare wheel if your car is using a spare wheel and not run flat. You will make sure that your car is serviced, just to make sure that all those checks are done that might hinder your trip to Limpopo. You will make sure that you are traveling with a disc that is still within the valid period. You will make sure that you have your jack, you have, those emergency thing, the triangle. You will just make sure that, all those things are there. You will make sure you pour petrol. You will make sure that all the checks are done because you are about to travel about 500 to 600 kilometers. So that is called risk management. So you do all those things before you start traveling. And the reason why you do that, you want to make sure that there is nothing that stops you on the way from reaching Limpopo. So those are some of the things that are within your control that you can do. Unless if it's something that is not within your control, there's nothing you can do, like accidents. But you can manage the risk of making sure that you get to your destination without any harm. So the same thing applies to your businesses. When you have a business, you must do a risk management. You need to ask yourself, is my business compliant? And if it's not compliant, what are the possibility? What are the consequences of me not complying? Let's say, for example, you decided that you are not complying, but you are running a business with SARS. For example, you are not submitting your returns on an annual basis, but you are trading, you're making money. When you get the money, you prioritize maybe your side chicks, you prioritize, booze or grooves, you prioritize, just things that are not, of value compared to things that could assist you in growing your business. So you are not investing, you are not reinvesting, you are not buying things that will help you in the business, you are not advertising, you are not incurring expenses that will help you to grow your top line, you are not reducing your cost. Those are some of the things that you need to make sure that you do as a business. So compliance becomes important because if you do not comply, the consequences are severe, they are huge. So that's something that could harm you or potentially stop you from reaching your goals as a business owner. Because once SARS comes back and say you owe 5 million, 10 million, or 18 million, where are you going to get it? You stop trading. and you just declare yourself bankrupt or whatever, and you liquidate the business. So those are some of the things that you need to put in place. You need to put the checks to say, okay, are we keeping financial records for our business? Are we submitting the CIPC returns? Are we submitting our SARS returns? Do we have an accountant who will advise us in the transaction that we are entering into? Do we have a lawyer that we can go to in case our business gets sued or whatever? Do we have labor specialist that can advise us in case we are taken to CCMA or to labor court as a business? So those are some of the things that you need to ask yourself as a business owner to say, these things, are they in place in case something happens? So those are risk management that you're supposed to engage in as a business owner. They are important. You know, when people talk about risk management, don't think it only applies to big corporates. It also applies to small business. You need to ask yourself those questions to say, okay, if these things happens, what are the chances of me not? I mean, check the business that started small and they are now big. Imagine now if you grow and you can't manage those smaller problems. You can't manage those problems. You can't manage risk management at a basic level. What will happen to you being the CEO and the founder or shareholder of that company? So do these things on a regular basis. Check, what are we doing? Are we doing right things? Do we have right people in the business? If we are growing, are we complying with the regulators? For example, if you are in healthcare, environment, you will make sure that your professional membership is paid to the healthcare profession, HPC, what, so that at least they don't terminate your license, because you know if you don't have a license, you cannot trade. Those are risk management. If you are in the food industry, you make sure that you have the certificate of food permitted, in your premises. When you are in construction, you'll make sure that you move from your CIDB 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. But if ever you are not doing things right, you will never move. You'll never move. There is a guy who came to me and say, you want to buy a truck. Okay, you want to buy the truck. How much revenue are you generating in your business? No, about 14,000 per month. 14,000 and you want to buy a truck. Okay. As a long-term goals, we can support you. We can tell you what you need to do. And then we can help you in terms of making sure that you have proper documents for proposal to get the truck and funding. But you are not at a point where you can get a truck with the revenue that you are generating. As a future goals or objective, yes, you might get it, but now, no. So those are some of the things that you need to ask yourself. You need to, but I just wanted to explain the risk management in simple terms so that you understand that this is not something that applies only to big corporates, but it also applies to small businesses. Thank you.